City Council is finally getting answers from the Sewage and Water Board on the problems pointed out by a state task force. Jordan Lippincott brings us insight into the board's financial issues.
During Tuesday's budget committee meeting, the Sewage and Water Board admitted they're $21 million short to complete construction of a new power station. The city's CAO said they could amend the capital budget to provide the Sewage and Water Board with $8 million. Sewage and Water Board leaders said they could temporarily halt 2 projects for the remainder.
So we will have the $13 million available temporarily to allow us to do that.
Will those 2 projects have anything at all to do with any power at Sewage and Water Board?
No. They're
completely unrelated. I don't want to beat this horse to death, but we got to get the billing problem solved as quickly as possible and can't just be in an AMI is going to be the cure-all for everything.
I agree.
The Sewage and Water Board replied they would be hiring an outsource company to review and solve disputed accounts. As for a possible state takeover, this is what the Sewage and Water Board had to say.
I think that would be terribly distracting, disruptive. At the time where we have momentum, there's a lot of things happening. I don't see the value whatsoever.
Council Vice President J.P. Morrell says the council opposes a state takeover, while Councilman Joe Giarrusso says he agrees with some of the recommendations.
I think there's some of them that we've always been proposing. There's some of them that probably need to be tweaked to be in the right place, and there's some of them, like the recovery district, we just flat out disagree with.
Jordan Lippincott, WGNO News.
The trucking industry is fighting back against strict new federal emissions standards for heavy-duty vehicles. Washington, D.C. correspondent Hannah Brandt breaks down the controversy.
The EPA is cracking down on emissions from heavy-duty vehicles, including highway big rigs.
This is a big deal. It's a really big deal.
Amanda Leland with the Environmental Defense Fund expects the new rules to have a huge impact.
These new standards will prevent a gigaton, 1 billion tons of climate pollution from getting into our air and our atmosphere.
But the companies that own the big trucks are not happy.
It's going to be a travesty if it goes forward.
Chris Spear is with the American Trucking Association.
The timelines and targets in this rule are simply unachievable.
The EPA insists the new rules do give the industry time to adjust. They start taking effect in 2027 and ramp up through 2032.
They phase in gradually.
Joseph Goffman with the EPA says transitioning will eventually save the industry billions.
These new technologies will ultimately make these trucks cheaper to operate.
But Spear argues most companies can't afford the transition, and he warns it'll disrupt supply chains and increase prices.
We're talking about real people putting food on the table. They're going to be paying 10 times more for it, and they're going to get half the choices.
He agrees there's a need to confront the climate crisis.
Let's take care of the economy and the environment at the same time.
And he's pushing for a slower, more phased-in timeline.
Work with our industry. We'll get there. This is not a question of if, it's about when.
But supporters of the change insist it would be a mistake to slow down standards that benefit public health and the economy.
We want to see that happen sooner, not later.
In Washington, I'm Hannah Brandt.
Up next, we'll have a look at the week ahead on your local election headquarters. Stay with us.